Hello, everyone. Welcome to Harmonic Heart. We're a music blog dedicated to showcasing musicians' stories and talent. I'm your host, Chris Mallett. I'm excited to have DMV-based indie pop rock band Grey Wulf today for an interview. So welcome, guys.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So Grey Wulf is a trio of multi-talented musicians. So each will have an opportunity to share all that they do. But generally, here today we have Freddy on lead vocals and guitar, Sam on vocals, guitar, bass, and clarinet, and Sully on drums and vocals. Yeah, so sweet. Guys, so we met at Just Rock Enterprises, which is a music company based in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, but Just Rock also has services in various parts of the country. So, you all, your band, Grey Wulf, and CEO Shalita White have just been a welcoming presence, positive presence at Just Rock. And I've really had just appreciated it. And it's been a positive experience for me. So, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Absolutely. Glad to, to have met you through Just Rock and to have been a positive experience for you.
Yeah, it's been, affirming. So I've been really glad. Yeah. I'd love to know how Grey Wulf came together.
Well, let's see. We formed this year in 2020, and it kind of started with me and Sam. We both work at Just Rock, as you mentioned, and so that's how we kind of met. And we had collaborated a couple times, doing various Just Rock events, and as we are both instructors there. So I don't remember which one of us, but one of us were like, we should start a band,
Hey.
Like, yeah. So we kind of, just kept collaborating and brainstorming, and I remember it was very quickly, like very early on, we came up with the name Grey Wulf.
Mm-hmm.
You remember why?
Yeah, should we tell the story to get it officially?
Story. So I'm taking my hat off for a reason right now. Probably camera, but Freddie and I have quite a few gray hairs at our respective.
Yeah, it's a cool look. Yeah,
man, a lot of people. I'm still looking to, but I feel like now that we named Grey Wulf, partly because of the hair, it was kind of a big influence. So I'm now reluctant to actually die, because I was all for it at first, but now I'm like, maybe I should just some of that gray. Use a little touch.
So that's so you guys are kind of joking about your hair. So is that the backstory of Grey Wulf, the band?
That's kind of original inspiration. Like it sounded cool for one,
It does.
Cool, and then but also, like, we had a few gray hairs, and what else? Like we tried to make the spelling unique, so
yeah.
It's hard to stand out these days. There's so many bands and artists. Everyone's already got a name, so
right.
It seemed pretty available, especially spelling. So if you're looking us up on social media, GreyWulf, Grey Wulf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we there's a ton of pictures, obviously, of like wolves online, but I tried to. My sister, my younger sister, just got into like FIT and all that, so I asked her to make this little drawing for us, and that's the current drawing we have up there on the Instagram page. Which I like. That kind of, for me, solidified, like, okay, Grey Wulf we have like a little uniqueness now in image.
Yeah, we are your sister, because that's an amazing piece of artwork. We might have to use it on our album cover,
Hey, okay.
But I did want to continue to tell the story a little bit more, because
we haven't mentioned Sully.
The name and did a few performances. That's when we started saying we need a drummer, like we need a third person to round out this sound. So we auditioned a few people, I think back in August, and we met Sully. He had responded to a want ad we put out there, so that's how we met Sully, and he came to audition for us, and he was great. And, so we were like, you want to join Grey Wulf? He was like, and so he was like, yeah. So here we are, you know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, Sully made the cut.
Yeah, I was the last to join, but I really liked what they had going for them as far as like one of the first covers they had was "Sucker" by the Jonas Brothers,
Yeah.
and Freddie sent me a demo of or a live recording of them playing it, and I thought I could add a lot to that one. So "Sucker" is one of the first ones that we ever did, and then Sam and Freddie each have a couple originals too that also intrigued me, and we're still working on those as well.
Hmm. Yeah, you know, I guess an impression I have of your band, you know, each of y'all are kind guys and multi-talented, just very talented at what you do. So it seems like it's a good mesh, you know, the three of you together. You know.
Yeah, we get along pretty well, and like I think our talents do complement each other. I'm very happy with the combination of the three of us. You know, everything we each bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
They're very versatile. I mean, Sam can play like any instrument.
Can you say that again?
I said you guys are both really versatile, and Sam can play like any instrument.
Well, a few. No. I was gonna the particular thing are harmonies. You know, even obviously going through music school, harmony is not really something I think of when I'm doing my original stuff, and it's just me on like the SoundCloud. So the Grey Wulf experience has been really enlightening to get some of these. You know, we do some awesome covers, but we got some originals that are really coming together. They come together quick. And each one of us really can put together a really nice harmony. So if I don't know the words to a song, then, you know, Sully can take care of that for me. You know, it's vice versa.
Freddie's the one who knows harmonies really well, and he can help us find whatever note we're trying to hit, because I'm still getting better at that as a singing drummer. You know, playing drums and harmonizing is one of the hardest things I think to do simultaneously. And that's actually what I think is I'm really excited about with this project, this band, is that I'm used to playing really hard rock stuff, and I'll sacrifice a drum solo or a guitar solo if it means that our harmonies are all elevated together.
Like I'm really excited that both these guys like to sing, because for me, I would say that singing is my primary instrument. It was the first thing I love to do musically. So everything else kind of came after. Like I learned piano, guitar, saxophone. Saxophone was actually my first instrument in middle school, but I feel like over time I developed a good ear for harmonies, and I'm happy to have these two guys, especially like Sully and the drums. I know it's hard to do drums and sing at the same time, so, and probably bass and sing at the same time too for Sam. So like you know, like I think everyone is amazing. Like we're kind of just seeing what we're able to do, and it all comes out pretty good, I think, when we're done with it.
You all are fans of great music, and you know that comes through in the songs you decide to cover in your performances. Let me see. I think well, yeah. Tell me about specifically that, like how you guys choose songs. I've also noticed your band values like history and paying tribute to musical legacies. So like, what's the importance of, you know, paying tribute and respecting, you know, musicians that have come before, and then also how do you choose songs to cover and rehearse those?
So I would say that when we choose which songs to cover, it's interesting because, like, first thing is we want to figure out where our goal is as a band. So like we have a few original songs, we have a few covers as well. We always want to have a nice mix, you know, something like it kind of brings in new people when they can recognize a song they've heard, but hopefully they like the original stuff too. So, but when it comes to covers, I like to have each of us, pick a song to work on, because it's pretty manageable with just the three of us to learn 3 new songs for practice, and then when we each pick something, we can kind of share our musical interests and all feel kind of invested in what we're doing. So it's not like one person is dictating it. You all have to play all these songs, I think, as you were talking about how we like to pay tribute to artists, I think that comes out because most of us are music educators. We value the history of it. We really want to show respect to the artists who came before us, who influenced us. So I think that's also a big part of the songs we choose, and we just have a good time with it, and hope that our audiences do too.
I wanted to maybe super quick throw out the we recently a little shout out to ourselves. we recently got a little cover in the Hyattsville Wire, and we did Johnny Nash, I Can See Clearly Now, and we were just playing outside. So that we can kind of take these tribute songs of artists who have passed away, and we definitely stick to originality, and then adding our own little twist, try to really make it pop, make it still lively and danceable. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would add that it's very collaborative, and sometimes we'll come to rehearsal and we'll each pick a song. And so, like, I Can See Clearly Now, that was one of Freddie's picks. He also chose Change of Season. But like, I chose Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House, and a song called She's Got a Problem by Fountains of Wayne. And Adam Schlesinger was one of the songwriters who passed away earlier this year. So we did kind of have that theme for that one performance of paying tribute to lost artists, or artists that passed away recently. The other one was Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, go ahead. You can talk.
No, that was it. Just it's very collaborative that way.
Yeah, I did shout out to Eddie Van Halen as well, because we did You Really Got Me. That was a fun one that we enjoyed doing, and he passed away earlier this year as well. Like, we lost a lot of great artists this year. A lot of people are losing, friends, family. It's a very tough year for a lot of people. So we keep that in mind as we perform. If the guys don't mind me speaking for them, it's just that, like, we kind of really want to make music that people will enjoy. Hopefully, maybe feel inspired by, or just have a good time. Kind of let go of some of the stresses of the world.
Yeah, I mean, if I say, myself, yeah, your music, it's very upbeat and yeah, it spreads joy, and I really, enjoy it. Who are some of your influences, musically?
Oh man, I think we all actually got pretty different musical backgrounds that have come together.
Oh, that'd be interesting to hear that. Yeah,
they're similar, but they're different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, my dad listened to hard rock all the time, and then my mom was listening to, like, Carole King. Even for me, I always bring it back to, in 3rd grade, I heard the song called "Indestructible" by Disturbed, and that's really hard rock. And I just listened to hard rock, heavy metal for a long time, and it wasn't until like junior year of high school I started to discover a little bit of rap, and I was like, okay, I like that. And then got into college. Even though I played the clarinet in college, classical music was never really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did get an invested interest in a whole lot of other music in college because of that. And so for me, the heavy metal started to dwindle a little bit, and now really I listen to a lot of hip hop, rap, even R&B and soul is starting to come into my collection. And I still have my little metal rock and roll roots. Come together.
Yeah.
You want to go next, Sully?
Yeah, I mean, I had a unique upbringing simply because my dad is a musician. He's been playing for over 50 years now, and so he's a drummer.
Oh,
So
wow.
I could just take drum lessons for free from him. And I've been playing since I was about 10 years old, which would make it about 15 years. I never wanted to play anything other than pop rock. I grew up on oldies. My dad raised me on Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and the Police and artists like that. And even like older though, like the Beatles and the Stones. I mean, I just grew up listening to classic rock. And like, I know a lot of modern artists now simply because I kind of have to if I'm going to play a pop show where they want to play the top 40 hits. But that was my upbringing. And then, you know, I was an athlete before I was ever a rocker. I mean, my first love was football and baseball, and I wanted to go into the NFL when I was 13, you know, but I played football all 4 years, and then I just realized I wasn't good enough. So I kind of one of those people who I switch my passion, like I focus on one thing. So at the time it was football, and now it's completely music. And I graduated and I joined one band that I helped form that was kind of a new wave cover band. And then I was part of an original garage rock band, a hard rock band, and I lived with them in DC. And then I filled in with like 3 or 4 other artists, and now I'm in Grey Wulf full time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I just learned a few things there I didn't know. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I can kind of relate to what you said about having different passions, but ultimately kind of choosing music. Like, I'll just throw out 2 other things I'm really interested in. Like, growing up, I loved visual arts and drawing, and I still do. But like, I did kind of feel like in life, I kind of had to choose. Like, what am I going to put most of my energy and focus towards? So, I do gravitate to music a lot. Just because it helps to be able to focus on one thing sometimes. And but to answer the question about influences, it's funny, like I was raised on a lot of Motown and you know, doo-wop and like stuff from the 50s and 60s and 70s, and I really enjoy it. Like you know, everything, like folk music, classic rock, all that stuff. Like, so I definitely grew up with an appreciation for the oldies, but then I also enjoyed the stuff that was current at the time. Like, a lot of music from the 2000s made a big impression on me. I was a 2000s kid, like all the pop, rock, like you know, there was so much going on at the time. So like, there's a lot of great artists. You know, there's a lot of great artists in every era. So as an educator, I try to, you know, learn more about what I don't know. And, you know, so I really have an appreciation for like every genre, every, you know, era. But I think the stuff that comes out strongest through Grey Wulf is the kind of pop rock stuff. With maybe some classic rock influences.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. Go ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to add that in high school, I did jazz band, which really was a formative experience for me. Like, I also did like the wind ensemble and you know, I was playing saxophone, but the jazz band was where I really learned what it takes to be a musician. And I feel like Sam probably can speak to a similar experience because he did jazz as well. And that I feel like jazz opens up your world when you're starting to learn about music. Like, it's such a unique and special genre.
Yeah, that's really interesting. How do you think that, you know, you said jazz really taught you, you know, really, I'm paraphrasing, I guess, like what music is. So how so? How do you feel like learning jazz and being in the jazz band opened you up in that way?
Well, when I first started learning music, you learn all the traditional things, you know, how to read music in standard notation, how to read notes on a page, how to, you know, play. Like, well, I told you I was in my school's wind ensemble, different school bands but in jazz band is where I was introduced to things like chords, soloing, and
Okay.
it opened up my education in a way that was like, I don't know what this means, but I know I want to know what this means. Eventually, I did learn what chords and soloing and such mean, improvisation, and all this stuff that you don't really get a chance to exercise in a typical school band setting. In my personal experience, I can't speak to everyone's experience.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, even I can, relate to that in terms of, experiences growing up where I had to, learn songs. I think it's different when you're learning song, like a series of songs versus, being taught theory in a way to be able to compose yourself.
Well, it's definitely different. They're not bad or good, but it's definitely different when a band director gives you a piece of music that you probably don't even know. I always go to the little whole suite. That's like a little wind ensemble standard in the high school things. It's way different, like a whole suite. You got the one clarinet part in front of you, or saxophone, and totally different experience learning I Can See Clearly Now, just as a cover. I would like to quickly say just what you and Freddie have said to like the passions. I think it's powerful but when you immerse yourself in just this idea of music, when you really pick apart each aspect of music, and you can kind of get a little hand in each one, I think that's when then the little magic, the little sparks really do start to happen. I had a interesting. I'll try to keep it a little short. I had an interesting experience as going into education, music education in college. My growing up is very, I would say, standard. And like I picked up the clarinet when I was in fourth grade. And in my mind, I actually picked up the clarinet because I wasn't really interested in the other instruments, but I saw the clarinet and I had remembered that Squidward from SpongeBob played the clarinet. And that was the instant gratification. I literally went, oh, I actually know that one. I will go try it.
Nice.
And so here we are, like what, 13, 15 years later or something. But I remember going home and, I would always have the pieces of music, and my one of my more favorite stories is just me. It's like, I never really practiced the band music. And like, I always looked at it and I would run through it, but it wasn't really my thing. I was never into the notes, but when I was a kid, I would put on my headphones and listen. At the time I would put on Disturbed, and I got to really know how it sounded like on like the clarinet, and I would play through the vocal melodies and then go to the guitar solos. And so one day I hit the upper register, and my fourth grade teacher was like, whoa, you could do that, and put me in the fifth grade band. And it just started like kind of progressing, even though my notation reading skills were not the best. But then and I think from the education standpoint, sometimes in schools we put a lot of emphasis on notation reading, and it potentially takes away from some of the actual music making or the creative process that tends to happen. So now I'm in a high school right now where, of course, coronavirus has put us all online, but even before that we were I had some keyboards, I had a drum set in the back, but really I one of the first things I asked the students is, well, what kind of music do you like, and we go right to the computers. We go to a little recording program, Audacity, and we use beat makers online. We pick apart lyrics. I like to use Genius lyrics and then actually ask the kids to put in their own annotations, because sometimes annotations can be wrong on there. And so just when each student has their own kind of unique music experience, whether it's creating a piece or responding. And I think it's just important to that the individualism in that student comes out when in music. It's, there people can sometimes be lost if you are placed in that large ensemble and you got the one director up there and each person is playing their own piece of music that comes together. And then that's why, sometimes we see people start to drop out, and that's why the high school groups get smaller and smaller, because people kind of start to separate. They go, maybe music isn't for me, but music is for everybody, and everybody is musical.
Kind of going along with this conversation, one of the things that inspired this podcast is, sometimes we see people at the end or like where they are now, and I'm really curious how they got started. So, for each of you, how did you guys get into music, and how have you developed your skills, in those various ways?
You want me to go first? Anybody opposed?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So obviously we talked about Squidward, and going through, I did the jazz band when I was in 7th grade. My teacher gave me a tenor saxophone. I absolutely loved it. I went home and tried to play for 2 hours because I couldn't get any of the low notes. Big turn. I grew up Long Island, New York, and there was a group called Nassau Suffolk. That was an audition wind ensemble that I played. Mr. Levy was the conductor. Absolutely loved him. And that was really cool. That was like a kind of because it was a lot more, I would say, advanced pieces for one way or another. But it was fun. I had a good time. And so that was a lot of fun. I got to play next to my friends. Big turning point for me when I was in high school. I was doing a summer camp called U-Stan in high school. That was kind of like, I had a little clarinet studio, and then it was an ensemble, and then we saw different acts, and I did the jazz band in the afternoon. But somebody came into U-Stan one day, Miss Undercoughlin. She's now Dean of SUNY Purchase in college, and she was talking about a group called Face the Music, and it was a contemporary jazz band in New York City that toured around. And I asked my mom, and she did let me do it, even though it was a little costly to go on the train every single Sunday. But that experience just it changed my entire perception of what I wanted to do. I think at that moment, because it was like a contemporary jazz, so we not only were playing this kind of weird wild music, but we got to meet the composers. The first piece ever, we played a piece called 3 Fragments, and the composer was Vijay Iyer. It was just this chilled, really relaxed guy, and it was wild. It's some of it sounded bad, but in a good way. And we just went out there in Lincoln Center Atrium. I was hauling around a tenor saxophone and pouring rain at midnight trying to get back to the train. But the rush of it all, I loved every second of it. So that was a huge turning point where I was like, yes, I want to go into music. And then when I hit college, I think I knew. I was like, okay. So I see some of the directions to go in, like being a music educator. A lot of the directions that we're pointing was like, I think I knew I didn't want to be the orchestra director. I didn't really even want to be a clarinetist in the orchestra or wind ensemble. It wasn't me. But I was a little lost. I was a little lost my freshman year. I was like, I'm not really sure. I want to teach, but maybe this is not the way I want to teach. And then I met my education professor my sophomore year. I was just in a music teaching class, and I went into his office one day after class, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing at all. I don't know what questions to ask. And we sat down for 4.5 hours that day on that meeting, and that just changed me. It made me completely think differently about education. It was like, things, education and the way schools sometimes, the way schools are doesn't actually have to be that way. And You just got to be the little powerhouse, and as a teacher, you got to be the force. If you going in and you are replicating some of the things that were taught to you, I just to keep myself out of trouble, I just might say it might just get, the repetition is not exactly advancing. It's not. It just kind of becomes a cycle rather than progressing. So just to kind of wrap it up, I met this dude, my professor, and then I completely changed, and I based everything I wanted to do off that, and education was my strong suit, and yeah, I moved right out, graduated from college, came over to Maryland, got a job in Capitol Heights, and then like a month later, I got a job at Just Rock, and I met everybody here. All good, all good from there.
Okay. In college, you studied clarinet, like you focused on that?
Yeah, I had my music education bachelor's, and then I did the clarinet performance bachelor's. And I wanted to. A couple of my friends were like, "You just want to be an educator? Why bother?" But I was like, "No, I want to do it because I do like." And I also got into this composer. Her name is Libby Larson. Anybody listening, go check out Libby Larson, one of my favorite clarinet composers. She's just absolutely wild. I loved all of her pieces. I wanted to play all of them. So she was a big inspiration. I really tried to get away from, my professor begged me to play that Mozart clarinet concerto, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. All 4 years, I'm not going to do it. I don't particularly care about Mozart. I shouldn't. But I do want to play Libby Larson, and not only that, I could email Libby Larson and ask her about the piece. So that's more my style. But yeah, the clarinet.
Squidward, you care about Squidward more than Mozart.
I do care about Squidward more than Mozart. Squidward was a bigger inspiration to me than Mozart was.
Yes, Squidward was super impactful. How'd you pick up guitar and bass?
Going into college, they told me I needed that professional clarinet. So I did a little Sam Ash deal where I got some money back depending on how much I spent. And so I bought the clarinet, got this card a few days later, and my mom was like, go buy accessories to your clarinet. And I came home that day from the music store with an electric Black Ibanez guitar. And it was not a good little visit after that, but that slowly, she was like, I told you to get the clarinet things. I totally got a guitar. But I just started to learn. I learned, I think the first thing I learned was what the power chord was. And I was like, oh, you can do this on the entire guitar? Okay. This works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then
I see. Okay, well, let's see. Well, who's next? All right.
Well, it's funny, I can tell. Is it cool if I go, Freddie?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of cool because I can already tell that Freddie and Sam have definitely more of a classically trained background than I do. I was taught more intuitively and to kind of feed off the energies of the band that you're with. So for instance, I don't know much about music theory at all. I'm trying to learn more, and Freddie helps actually a little bit with that at rehearsals, particularly with hitting the right harmony, which again I'm still trying to get better at. But so again, football was my first love. I wanted to go in the NFL, but at that same time, I did play the drums. And then even before that, I played the violin. Like the violin was the first instrument I ever played. I was the only one taking private lessons in addition to school lessons. So because of that, I was the one who got solos in the class. But then I just kind of drifted away from violin, and I wanted to play something more upbeat and rocking. And realizing that my dad was a drummer and he could teach me for free seemed pretty nifty. So that took off, and I took a little piano for a little bit. And then, it wasn't again until after I graduated college in 2017 that I realized I wanted to take music seriously and treat it as a profession in addition to a hobby, like a part-time job sort of thing. So I treat it really seriously. I created a booking video. I treat networking seriously on Instagram. I have a business card. That's the thing also with like things like Instagram is I've noticed that each musician has to kind of figure out their niche and exactly what kind of look and sound they're going for. It's a little harder as a drummer because I'm usually not the one. The drummer is the one who's not in control of the band usually. So I'm doing what the singer's telling me, or the guitar player, or the bassist even. So it's like, how do I stand out? And I'm still working on that. But one thing that I'm trying to stand out is literally just the name that I go by, which is Sully. And Sully started on the high school football team. I never told anyone to call me that. But a lot of the time the coaches and players call you by your last name. So instead of saying Sullivan, which is my last name, they would just do Sully, get in the game, Sully, or why'd you drop that pass, Sully, or whatever. It was, one less syllable. And then it took off from there. Like, I don't remember who said it exactly first. I think it was one of the coaches, and then all the players are saying it, and then all the cheerleaders are saying it, and all the girls in school are saying it, and other friend groups, even teachers are calling me Sully, and I've never told anyone to call me that name. My first name is Michael, by the way. So
all right.
it wasn't until college where I said, I kind of like Sully. It's a little more original and unique, and it just seems like kind of a cooler name. And so I started asking people to call me Sully in college. And then after college, I realized it's actually a cool kind of music alias. Like, how Sting goes by Sting. It's not a first or last name. It's just Sting. It's just a name. So I kind of like that also because in the very rare event that I somehow get quote unquote famous, I want like an alias to fall back on so people don't really know who I am. So I'm not Michael Sullivan, I'm Sully. In case anyone tries to like find me or look me up or whatever, I can always fall back on Sully.
Maybe we should be getting aliases.
Yeah, right. No, it's just part of branding, and networking. And
oh, your secret now, you just revealed it.
Yeah, I revealed it now, but who knows, maybe no one will see this.
Right. Like, you're already famous, you're on the podcast,
That's true. I just blew my coverage. But no, that's part of it, is branding yourself and figuring out exactly what kind of look and style you're going for. I'm trying to get better as a singing drummer, because I think you get more gigs the more things you can do. Which is also why I play ukulele now. And I'm kind of self-taught on that. I mean, I watch YouTube videos on how to play, but I write songs now too. I'm a songwriter, and it's easy to kind of fiddle around on a ukulele. And one more thing is, it's kind of funny to compare songwriting styles with these guys, because like I can tell Sam's very like thoughtful and sincere, and like Freddy has a song called Let's Fall in Love Tonight, and it's more like kind of poppy and upbeat and a love song. And then I just write songs that are like over sexualized and raunchy, and like the awkwardness of love and tongue-in-cheek views on awkwardness and relationships and girls. And so I, because I don't have a great voice, I try and compensate by adding my humor into it. So I'm trying to be funny. Like one song I wrote recently is called Cougar, and it's about falling in love with a cougar. And you think that because she's older, that she's got it all together. And then as you slowly get to know her better, you realize that she's just as crazy as everyone else. So I'm trying to, it's in the same realm of like Stacy's Mom or Jesse's Girl or The Cars, Best Girl, So that's what I try to do, is I try to make my songs funny, and they're not to be taken seriously at all. So they're just fun.
And then more of your, yourself and your personality come through as well. Yeah.
I would hope. Thanks. Yeah.
I actually think that's very funny. It reminds me of a band, Psycho Stick. Have you heard of that, Sully?
No. You said Psycho Stick?
Yeah, it's a band, Psycho Stick. They have a song like "I Wish I Had a Taco." I didn't even really think of that, but I think our writing styles. I don't want to generalize. I know Freddie definitely. Freddie's very, very nice and polite, and in like a great way. Like I absolutely love that original you have. I find personally, I think my better writing pieces are when it's kind of that sad, sad boy, lonely boy, or like even like that touch of angry. I think that's where I can really start to put things together. And then Sully is humorous. Yes, this is how.
Yeah.
I
So
am going to LA soon to record a song I wrote called Horny. It's about being horny in quarantine. So it's something that hopefully we can all relate to.
hey.
Anyway, I'm done for the rest of the interview.
Put that little E on there before we put this up. we just.
That's funny. Oh yeah. So Freddie, what about you?
Well, let's see if I have any secrets to share about my origin story. Well, I guess like how Sam said, which word kind of influenced him to want to play clarinet. I've told Sam the story. I was kind of influenced by Ernie on Sesame Street at a very young age. Full song, you gotta put down the ducky if you want to play the saxophone. And like, as a kid, that left a very strong impression on me. Like, the saxophone became my favorite instrument. I had a toy saxophone. And when I was old enough to pick a real instrument, I was in 4th grade, and I had the opportunity to be in the school band, and I picked the saxophone, and that's kind of where my real musical education began. I still play the saxophone. It's not my primary instrument, but I do have a love for it. Like I said, I ended up doing wind ensemble in high school, a jazz band my sophomore year. I progressed to first chair by my senior year, and it was just a really great experience being in the 2 bands in high school. When I went to college, it's kind of funny because, okay, so backtracking a little bit, back in high school, I also started doing theater my sophomore year, and I discovered musical theater. I loved it. So it fit in with the singing, which I already loved doing. So I guess by the time I went to college, I tried majoring in theater, and then the sophomore year I tried minoring in music. Long story short, college wasn't for me. I didn't finish, but but my musical education never stopped. So just kept up learning, and also church. Post college, actually, church became a great place for me to explore and learn music. Like people at church were very, kind and sharing of their knowledge, and mentorship, and so I learned a lot about guitar and singing and doing worship, and so I've done a lot of that. And then in 2015 is when I started working at Just Rock, and prior to that I had a job at a daycare as their kind of music guy, and that's when I started really kind of doing music education. Like it was for the youngest of kids, but but we had a good time. I would bring my guitar and we would play, everything from ABCs to, the Wheels on the Bus, and even do some fun stuff like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like little kids love the song September. October or December or whatever month you want to. But long story short, I love teaching. I learned to love teaching kids because like they're so smart and curious and but you know what though, at Just Rock we teach all ages, which is something I want to stress because I really believe that it's never too late to learn. Like so many times I'll run across an adult who's like, well, I want to learn, but I feel like I never really picked it up when I was younger, so it's probably too late. And I'm like, no, it's never too late. Like it's never too late to try. So, and actually, I do have a lot of adult students who make amazing progress. I'm really proud of them. Like, so as Sam said earlier, music is for everybody, especially everybody who has an interest, you know. And I think that by now, you know, I've got a love for both teaching and performing, and like Sully mentioned, it can be a lot of work. Like you start to have to learn to promote yourself and what you're doing. You've got to do social media. You've got to find gigs. You've got to, you know, handle the business aspect of it. Like it's you begin to wear many hats. The more serious you become about pursuing it professionally, and especially in these times, like 2020 is kind of the worst year to have wanted to form a band, but here we are.
Yeah.
Like the economy has been hit very hard. Everyone's been hit so hard. I feel like, you know, music in some way, like live music has taken a toll, as we all know. You can't really go to concerts, anything. Like we're lucky just to have a venue at Just Rock right now because we figured out how to safely, you know, allow small gatherings and keep them sanitized and masked and everything so that we can continue to make music, because it's very hard these days. But, you know, I think that our passion makes up for the challenges of it, because it pushes us to just keep going no matter what. And, you know, and it helps to, you know, have these two good guys to help, you know, bring it all together, because we encourage each other. Like if I was doing it by myself, I probably wouldn't have gotten half as far as we've gotten as a group.
Wow.
I'm really excited about the future. Yeah.
Wow, that's really sweet. Yeah, and I love you know, what you're saying about, you know, not being too late even if you're an adult to learn. And also, you know, actually, Freddie, like when I was in preschool, I had like a music class and they taught me to color in like the piano. So that's how I learned the notes on the piano. And I still, you know, remember that when I was like 4 years old, and that kind of set me up to before I took piano lessons. So that's really sweet. I'm curious for Grey Wulf, you know, your songwriting process and how you all come together to arrange the songs to perform.
Well, let's say, like Sam, we're so thankful for Sam because he does the bulk of the songwriting. Grey Wulf, like he's every song that we've done so far. Like Sully and I, we briefly talked about, like, we've written a couple of songs, but like the ones that we've really performed as Grey Wulf, you know, we gotta give our props to Sam.
I appreciate it.
Sam, what's your process, man?
What is I sit on it for a while. You know, I feel like this should be a simple question, but I'm actually
I can throw some things out there if you
you know, I definitely took like I have a few songs from the high school days. We actually perform a song called Believe. And that is I maybe exception of one or two, but that's one of the first songs I ever really wrote that had like a bridge, a little solo section. And at the time, I mean this was maybe my 11th when I was in 11th grade. And it's very simply based on a little heartbreak that I had. But so I try to, like, my styles are I think I usually like to form a melody first. I think of something in my head, or I'll be listening to a song, And lately I've been inspired by simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Probably going to say this for about the millionth time now, but descending bass lines. that's my
Right.
favorite thing. Chicago has it. Green Day, Brain
Right.
Stew.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they all got, you know, they all have something with it. So we just recently did one, Why Make Me Crazy, or, you know, Why Make Me Stupid, whatever, whatever we call it. And so I think most of the time when I do, before I start the writing process, I do have a melody in my head, or I have an idea of how I want the beat to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really just is, it starts as a stream of conscious for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really, you know, you can look in this little notebook I have. There's scribbles, there's doodles, because it really just comes to me. Sometimes I'm in a song right now, and I've been sitting on it for like a week. I have like a verse and a chorus, and but sometimes I sit on it for a while and I can come back to it. Sometimes I write things and then I come back to it the next day and I think it's a little too cheesy, or kind of just, I don't like it, so I trash the whole thing. But I can pull out examples like Why Make Me Crazy. I think I wrote in like 2 days. I think I just had it one day. I was like, okay, like this works for me. I was able to kind of sing it in a range that was comfortable, and I really just have to pull from, all right, let me think of an experience, you know, just let me think of an experience that was not too pleasant for me, or and like, how did I really feel? And sometimes I even have to close my eyes and picture myself in an environment. I had to really close my eyes and picture myself at one of my college houses to think of that song, Why Make Me Crazy. And it's just like, all right, what was the absolute worst of it? And just picturing myself in this room looking out a window, which just oh wow, you know. And one of that the first line in that song is, I'm sick of feeling sorry for myself and all my faults. I just want to sleep it off and fill the void that's in my heart. You know, that's it's a little dark. It's a little dark, but I really like that line.
Yeah, it's a great line. Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you know, why am I sorry for myself if it's something that I know that I kind of you know, had an impact on happening to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I usually like to use, like, in anything, I like to use analogies of sleeping. One of my favorite bands, Highly Suspect, he has about 4 or 5 songs where he's just like, all I want to do is freaking sleep. And like, it's simple, but I take a lot from that. It's like, why do I want to sleep so bad? Because why, you know, anxiety. Just get to the next day, or, you know.
Right.
So I you the one last thing I'll say, probably my current favorite song that we have, Morning Whiskey. I think I used kind of an influence from a band, Ludo. They're like I think they have an album from it's like from 2007 or something. They have like Love Me Dead, Drunken Lament on there, and just kind of the weird analogies in lyricism is what I really like to pull from. So just like that, I want to be your morning whiskey. You know, like, oh, that's a little toxic. And cup of coffee in the second inning. All right, that's a little better. The way you smile when you're at your wedding is like, all right, it's starting to turn a little polite. There's a lot of things there.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like, you know, you start with like a melody and then you kind of sit in an emotion and kind of you go back to an experience and pull from that and craft it into a song. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so then you bring it, I'm sure it has like probably like some guitar, then you bring it to the band Grey Wulf, and then you
Like a
guys can
demo of it, right?
What'd you say?
You record like a demo, right? And you send us the demo usually.
Yeah, I sit there with my Audacity free recording program. I got that little Blue Yeti mic that I bought on like a Black Friday 2 years ago. And I just I'll have the metronome in my ear, record it on my SoundCloud, send it over to the little group chat we have, and go, tell me what you think.
And like, as you know, he's multi-talented. So like sometimes he'll have, vocals, guitar, bass, drums. Like he has a full idea before it comes.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
I will say, Sully is great at, he's such a great drummer. He can really take the base of what Sam had in mind, kind of like make it even more interesting. And then as the guys kind of mentioned before, like my thing is harmonies. I'm really good at like hearing different harmonies and kind of bringing that into the song. Maybe sometimes making suggestions about the chord progressions or the structure of the song. So it is group. Like I do like the collaborative, approach that we have. Like I don't know how soon we might have a EP or a demo coming out, but hopefully soon. We'll see. Maybe probably not 2020. Let's put it out there for 2021. That'll be our resolution as a band.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got recording studios that will be open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Just Rock, this company that's doing, positive work in the community. It also seems like even as instructors, you guys get a pretty diverse kind of range of experiences in teaching. Like, what has your experience been like with Just Rock?
Oh man. So Freddie has been working for 5 years now. I believe I was hired in October of 2019, so I'm just over a year. And I can honestly tell you, within that time, I have done way more than I ever thought I was going to. My number one love is teaching. So like Freddie was saying before, I've had 35-year-old man come in for a ukulele lesson, private lesson, and just older people with a guitar, and that's kind of a one-on-one thing. And then I have, I got a 12-year-old student on the French horn. I have a drum student, 15-year-old girl on the drums. I did a voice lesson for a while. And then, before the unfortunate pandemic hit, it was like Wednesday and Thursday afternoon, I was going into one of our DC public charter schools after school. And I literally did half-hour lessons for pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade. And then I, even being online, songwriting classes for an all-girls high school in Brooklyn, senior center classes. And I just kind of list the examples because, children's hospital performances. The whole thing has been incredible. It's just, it's like, wow. It really blows me away each time. It's like, what an array of different things. Each one is different.
Right.
You can kind of go in with your little idea. But at the end of the day, I love to hear people's stories and what their interests are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people.
Yeah, shout out to Just Rock. If not for us working at Just Rock, Grey Wulf probably wouldn't exist. And like Sam said, it has provided so many different opportunities for us to grow as musicians and as educators. To add on to everything he said, we've done everything from partnering with schools, Children's Hospital, and other various healthcare providers. We've partnered with senior living homes. We teach all ages, private lessons, group lessons. We have different workshops and just providing rehearsal space even at our new studio in Brentwood. It's just, there's always something going on. The CEO and founder, Shalita White, she just is always full of vision and she's so good at networking and bringing people together and her goal has always been to just foster independent artists and build that confidence in the different musicians who come through. So it's just been a great experience for me. I'm very thankful to be a part of it. If you've never experienced Just Rock, I want to shout out to everyone who join us. We do things virtually now. We do things in person as well. So there's always a way to connect with us, even if you're local or not.
What have been some highlights that Grey Wulf has had during its time as a band?
Should we
some of the big highlights for me. So I will say that Grey Wulf kind of has had two phases. We had when it was just me and Sam, and then after Sully joined us. So when it was me and Sam, we had a few cool opportunities with Just Rock. We moved into the new studio space at Artisan 4100 in Brentwood, Maryland. And they let us do a few virtual performances from their lobby area. It was really cool. We could partner with different artists and DJs. And
we had virtual bar crawls.
We had virtual bar crawls as well on Instagram. And then we played at, Georgetown Farmers Market, and we would just try to get out there and, try different things. And then after Sully joined us, we started doing monthly open mics at Just Rock. So I think, Chris, you've been a part of those, and hopefully some of the listeners and viewers of this podcast might join us in future events. But I really enjoy doing the open mics. It's something where we get to show off what we're working on, but also hear from who else is in town, other local musicians, and I guess musicians anywhere. If they join us virtually, come join us like we are now. There's a great opportunity to kind of like keep things going. And then thirdly, I would like to mention we did a gig for Halloween this past year at a place called Plants Alive, and that was pretty awesome. Sam had found that place because he's interested in plants. He went there one day, saw that they had an event going on, so he ended up booking us a gig there. And it was supposed to be the Thursday before Halloween, but we had bad weather, so it was postponed to Halloween Saturday. And it was a great time. We came up with a kind of Halloween spooky set, and had cool decorations and lighting and other vendors and such. And so that was it was cool to see that even in a COVID time, we were able to find, some gigs outside of Just Rock, which we're lucky to have Just Rock, but we also want to, see what opportunities lie just out there in the broader world. So, that was one of the highlights for me.
I have two highlights. One was the Just Plants gig, the Plants Alive gig. Just Rock. No, the Plants Alive gig on Halloween was definitely a highlight because it was a good, decent sized crowd of just people wandering among the plants and viewing plants, but you have this spooky Halloween music in the background. I thought it was a cute little setting. And then they had food outside, and we had a tip or treat bucket, and that was really generous of all the people who donated. The other highlight for me was the open mic that you played at, Chris, and where we met. Because going back to, different songwriting styles, I was really blown away by what you performed that night.
Thank you, man.
Definitely. It was raw, it was vulnerable, it was relatable. You hooked me into your story instantly, and I was following you on the story you were telling and the journey. And it's funny, it's like I don't view that as being super far off from what I'm going for with my songs. Like the theme of, hey, we're all in this together, we're really not that different. It's just I add really sort of raunchy, over the top lyrics, you know, to make it a little more humorous rather than serious or vulnerable like the way you do. But it's still this overlying arch of, you know, like relationships are awkward and I'm insecure and here's a problem I'm going through. I'm gonna express it. And it's okay. Like it's okay to go through these certain situations. In fact, it's normal. And it's okay to laugh at yourself. And I would actually encourage that a lot. I think laughter is a really great medicine and a great tool to heal. And so, you know, it's funny, like I don't write songs about specific girls in my life, but I do write songs about girls in general, or like situations with girls. But I don't really feel inclined to write like a love song about a girl from my past or about a dream girl or anything like that. But I'm trying to write something that's relatable. And it's more general, and it's just this idea of connecting with an audience that you also did, Chris, where you're portraying or you're conveying these lyrics that lurk in the inner back of your head.
Right, yeah.
You know? That's when you connect with people. And so I thought that was really great, and that was a highlight of mine.
Oh, thank you, man. You know, and you know, recently I've just been getting more and more interested in, you know, people's motivations for writing and creating music. And you know, because I know mine is just about being honest and just conveying, you know, my inner world. So, you know, I also have some, you know, some raunchy songs as well, where I'm like very honest, and it surprises people because they wouldn't expect that. So, you know, I definitely, you know, have some of that too. So
yeah, I want to hear it. Yeah.
I'll send it over. That's funny. No, I really appreciate that. Yeah. And what about you, Sam?
Some highlights.
Yeah.
I mean, we you know, I have to super quick give credit to my girlfriend for the plants, the plant fanatic that I sort of become throughout this time. We have a whole ton of plants. So Plants Alive was definitely the best one, because I met this dude, and he was just like, yeah, we're having an event. It was like 2 weeks before Halloween. He was like, we're having an event. And I said, well, do you need a band? And he was like, we could use it. And then he was also a drummer, so it was easy to you know, relate and talk to him about what we could do. And that you know, because we did have that event, Freddie went out and got the business cards. We had a little poster. So that event kind of, I would say we were able to even make a promo video and put us on the map just a little bit more. That's definitely one of my more favorite ones. I really enjoyed the little Rose Park, Georgetown Farmers Market gigs. And I think you know, we would definitely have some promo videos coming up. I think we're gonna progress even more, and I've reached out to a couple places that have been promising, but just maybe after everything is over. So I see quite a promising lead for Grey Wulf in 2021.
Yeah, how can our audience support the band and each of you individually as musicians?
Follow us. Follow us. Grey Wulf Band.
You can find us on just about every form of social media. I mean, well, not every, but like Sully's got a pretty funny joke about all the different kinds of social media we're on.
Grindle, LinkedIn, Christian Mingle, Farmers Only.
Farmers Only?
We're not on Farmers Only, but we are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
Google Plus.
YouTube. So like, if you look for Grey Wulf Band, GreyWulf Band, on any of those platforms, you should be able to find some information about who we are and what we're up to. Hopefully you'll find some cool clips or audio, or who knows, like we're trying to figure out the best way to kind of put ourselves out there until we eventually create that demo or EP, because hopefully by then you can find us on streaming services. Who knows? I don't know. But
that's the goal, is to get on Spotify, I'd say.
so if you,
I guess definitely being on like a Spotify, Apple Music, but right now we definitely got your live performances out on YouTube, and they're good. You know, got some stuff down.
Yes, people, go follow Grey Wulf everywhere on social media, and thanks you guys for joining us on our Harmonic Heart interview. Really
thanks,
All right.
Chris.
Thank you, man.
Yes.
Oh, my
All right.
pleasure.
Great pleasure, man. Thank you.